Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about Moonbeam Network,
Okay.
which is an Ethereum-compatible platform, but built on Polkadot.
Okay.
And it's designed to be easy for developers to port their applications over from Ethereum.
Yeah.
So our source for this deep dive is a report from tokenomics, which is an AI-driven crypto research platform.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And our mission today is to kind of equip you with the knowledge to evaluate Moonbeam's potential.
Absolutely.
So, where does it fit in the whole crypto landscape?
Yeah. And I think one of the really interesting things about Moonbeam is that even though it only launched in January 2023,
Oh, wow.
it's already a top Polkadot parachain in terms of TVL.
TVL, what's that?
Yeah, so TVL stands for Total Value Locked, and it basically represents the amount of crypto that users have locked into a platform's DeFi protocols.
Okay.
It's a key metric in DeFi because it kind of shows how much trust and activity there is on a platform.
So a higher TVL is better.
Generally speaking, yeah. A high TVL suggests people believe in the platform and they're using it.
Right.
In Moonbeam's case, both the network itself and its testnet, Moonriver, have over $60 million each in TVL.
Wow, that's pretty impressive for a new platform.
Yeah, I think so, especially when you compare it to like Solana, Near, and Avalanche.
Right.
These platforms have been around for a lot longer.
Right.
And Moonbeam's TVL is comparable.
So does that mean that Moonbeam is potentially undervalued?
It raises the question, right?
Yeah.
And I think to understand that, we have to dig into the tokenomics.
Okay, so Moonbeam has its own native token, right?
Right. It's called GLMR.
GLMR. Okay.
And it's used for a few things. First, paying transaction fees on the network, like tolls.
Okay.
It's also used to incentivize the validators, the people who keep the network secure.
Right.
And it's also a governance token.
So the holders get a say in the platform's future.
Exactly. So it has some real utility.
Okay, that's interesting.
What's also really interesting is the deflationary mechanism. So 80% of those transaction fees that we talked about, they get burned, which means the total supply of GLMR decreases over time.
So that could theoretically increase the value.
In theory, yeah.
That makes sense.
But the crypto market can be volatile.
Oh, I know.
GLMR has dropped a lot from its all-time high.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think that's partly due to token unlocks, which are scheduled releases of new tokens,
Okay.
and also just the general bear market.
Right.
So it's kind of a mixed bag for investors. On the one hand, you have the token burns potentially pushing the price up, but then you have the token unlocks and the bear market pushing it down.
Right.
So it creates a dilemma.
It does.
Should you buy now when the price is low, or is there more risk?
Right. And to figure that out, I think we have to look at the competition.
Absolutely.
Moonbeam isn't the only platform out there vying for developers, right?
Right. It's got competition within the Polkadot ecosystem itself from platforms like Astar, and then from external platforms like Evmos, which is built on Cosmos.
So these are all kind of racing to be the go-to for Ethereum developers.
Yeah, you could say that.
So how do these platforms differ? What are their strengths and weaknesses?
Well, one key difference is compatibility.
Okay.
Moonbeam and Evmos are EVM-compatible, which means they can run applications written for the Ethereum virtual machine.
Okay, and what about Astar?
Astar is interesting because it's compatible with both EVM and WASM.
Either of those.
Yeah, WebAssembly, it's a newer tech.
Okay.
Think of it as a more efficient and flexible way to build smart contracts.
So that could give Astar an edge?
Potentially, yeah.
Interesting. So how do we compare these platforms then? How do we know which might come out on top?
Well, there are a bunch of metrics, but one that's useful is the FDV-TVL ratio.
Okay, what's that?
So FDV stands for fully diluted valuation, which is basically the market cap if all the tokens were in circulation today.
Okay.
This ratio helps us assess a protocol's relative valuation.
So lower ratio means it's potentially undervalued.
Exactly.
And where does Moonbeam fall?
Well, it has a significantly lower ratio than Solana and Near, and it's comparable to Avalanche.
Oh, wow.
So that suggests it might be undervalued.
Okay, that's interesting, but there must be some risks involved too, right?
Of course, every investment has risks.
What are some of the potential downsides of Moonbeam?
I think a major one is its dependence on Polkadot.
Okay.
It's built on Polkadot's infrastructure, so if Polkadot doesn't succeed, Moonbeam probably won't either.
Right, that makes sense.
And then there's the competition, which we talked about. It's facing pressure both from Astar within the Polkadot world
Right.
and from other layer ones like Evmos.
So it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, but with potentially high rewards.
So what needs to happen for Moonbeam to really take off?
I think there are a few key assumptions that need to hold true.
Okay.
First, the multi-chain future has to actually happen.
Right.
The idea that we'll have many different blockchains all working together. Second, Polkadot needs to become a leading layer 0 network.
And that would provide the foundation for Moonbeam.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, you need developer adoption.
Right.
It's one thing to build a platform.
But you need people to actually use it.
Exactly. Moonbeam needs to convince Ethereum devs that it's a better alternative.
Right.
And it needs to foster the creation of innovative Moonbeam native apps, too.
Well, this has been a great overview.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We've talked about Moonbeam's impressive TVL, the potential of its GLMR token, and the competition it faces.
For sure.
Moonbeam really is a fascinating case study in the blockchain world.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned as we delve deeper into Moonbeam's fundamental scorecard from tokenomics.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back.
All right.
So we're back, and before the break, we were talking about Moonbeam's potential.
Yeah.
Now let's see what the scorecard from tokenomics actually says about the fundamentals of Moonbeam.
Yeah, they grade different aspects of the project, and it gives us a structured way to evaluate its strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, cool. So what are the grades?
Well, Moonbeam got a perfect 10 in the smart money category.
Oh, wow. So what does that even mean?
It basically means that institutional investors are showing a lot of interest.
So the big players are buying in.
Yeah, it suggests that they see potential in Moonbeam and are willing to put their money where their mouth is.
Gotcha. Okay, what else is on the scorecard?
It also scored a 9 in use case, which means it has strong practical applications.
Right, because it wants to be easy for developers to bring over their Ethereum apps.
Exactly, but it's not all perfect.
What do you mean?
Well, Moonbeam only got a 5 in competition.
Oh, right, we talked about that.
Yeah, it faces tough competition.
Especially from Astar, with its WASM compatibility.
Right, WASM is a big deal.
Can you remind me why?
Sure, so WASM lets devs write smart contracts in a bunch different programming languages,
Okay.
and that appeals to a wider range of developers.
Because they don't have to learn a whole new language.
Exactly. So Astar's support for both EVM and WASM is a big advantage.
Gotcha, so competition is a real hurdle for Moonbeam.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind.
Okay, so what about the other categories on the scorecard?
Let's see, team got an 8, which is good.
So they have a solid team.
Yeah, with relevant experience.
Okay, right.
Investors got a 7.56.
Not bad.
Distribution got an 8.
Okay.
And tokenomics got a 9, which we already discussed.
So overall, how does Moonbeam score?
Tokenomics gives it a final score of 81.31%.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a positive assessment.
So it suggests that the platform has a good foundation.
Yeah, and a promising future. But remember, these scores are just one piece of the puzzle.
All right, we can't just rely on numbers.
Exactly. We need to look at the big picture.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Where do you see the blockchain industry heading in the next few years?
Well, I think we're moving towards a multi-chain future.
Oh, interesting. What does that mean?
It means we'll have many different blockchains, all specialized, all interconnected, all working together.
Okay, I see. So instead of one blockchain to rule them all, it'll be like a network of blockchains.
Yeah, exactly, like the internet.
Right. We don't have one website for everything.
Exactly. We have millions of websites all doing different things.
And they all connect and interact.
Exactly, and that could happen with blockchains too.
And Moonbeam wants to be a player in this multi-chain future.
Yes, by being compatible with Ethereum, it wants to be a bridge between Ethereum and Polkadot.
So it's like a gateway between two worlds.
Yeah, you could say that.
But how would that impact everyday users, like me, someone who's not a developer?
Well, the multi-chain future could bring blockchain to a much wider audience.
How so?
We could see a ton of new dApps for everything from finance to gaming to social media.
So more dApps, more innovation.
Exactly. But it's not a guaranteed future.
What could go wrong?
Well, if we end up with just a few dominant blockchains, then Moonbeam's growth could be limited.
Okay, so it's a bet on the multi-chain future.
Yeah, you could say that.
All right, well, let's bring it back to tokenomics. They talk about the impact of this multi-chain future.
Yeah, they argue that if it happens, Moonbeam is in a good position to benefit.
Why is that?
Because of its focus on interoperability and its strong ties to Ethereum.
So if this vision plays out, how would it affect users?
Imagine you could move your crypto between different blockchains seamlessly.
Okay.
You could use a DeFi app on Moonbeam to borrow some crypto,
Right.
and then use that crypto to buy an NFT on Ethereum, all without crazy fees.
So it would make blockchain a lot more user-friendly.
Exactly. It could make it more accessible and relevant to everyday life.
And Moonbeam is at the forefront of that movement.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Well, this is fascinating stuff.
It is.
We've covered a lot about Moonbeam, from the tech to the market to the future.
Yeah, we've touched on a lot.
But there's one more thing to consider.
What's that?
The human element.
Oh, you're right. The people behind it.
The developers, the community.
Yeah, they're crucial to any blockchain project.
Let's dive into that next.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the show. We've talked a lot about Moonbeam, the tech, the market, the future.
Yep.
But like we said before the break, the human element is super important to the success of any blockchain project.
Absolutely. You can have the best tech in the world, but if nobody's using it,
Right.
it's not going to go anywhere.
So let's talk developers. Why would a developer choose Moonbeam over another platform?
Well, Moonbeam has some big advantages. First, like we talked about, it's EVM-compatible, so devs can easily bring their Ethereum apps over without rewriting code.
Make sense?
It lowers that barrier to entry.
Yeah. It's like speaking the same language.
Exactly. Easier communication, easier collaboration.
Cool.
Second big advantage, Moonbeam leverages Polkadot security and scalability.
Oh, right. So it's more secure and can handle more transactions.
Exactly. It's a win-win for developers.
They get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And third, Moonbeam has a growing ecosystem of tools and resources just for developers.
Okay, like what?
They have a really active developer community, tons of documentation, and dedicated support channels.
So they're really trying to make it easy for devs.
For sure. And that brings us to the community.
Right. What about them? How important is the community to a blockchain project's success?
Super important.
Uh,
A strong community provides support, gives feedback,
Right.
can even help fund developers.
Right.
And they spread awareness, get more people using the platform.
So like a network effect, the more people involved.
Exactly. The more valuable the platform becomes. And Moonbeam seems to be doing a good job building their community.
Okay, how so?
They're active on social media, they host events, they have a whole team focused on community engagement.
It sounds like they're covering their bases.
Yeah, they're putting in the effort.
So from both the developer and community side, Moonbeam seems to be in a good spot.
I think so. But let's zoom out again.
Okay.
Think about the big picture, the future of blockchain.
Right. Where does Moonbeam fit in?
Moonbeam represents this trend we're seeing across the industry, a move towards specialization and interoperability.
So moving away from one blockchain to rule them all.
Yeah, we're going towards a future with many different blockchains all working together.
So instead of competing, they're collaborating.
Kind of. Each blockchain can focus on what it does best, and then they can connect and share data.
That makes sense.
And Moonbeam is at the forefront of this movement, the bridge between Ethereum and Polkadot.
And if this trend continues?
We could see a much more diverse and dynamic blockchain landscape, one that's more accessible and useful for everyone.
A blockchain world that's actually integrated into our lives.
Exactly, not just for techies and crypto enthusiasts.
The Moonbeam could be a major player in making that happen.
Yeah, they have a real shot.
Well, we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive into Moonbeam.
We have
We talked about the technology, the market, the potential, the risks,
the multi-chain future.
the developer community, the tokenomics report.
Yep, all of it.
But now it's your turn, listeners.
Yeah, go do your own research.
Explore the platform, check out the community, and make your own decisions.
Blockchain is still evolving.
There's a lot to discover out there, so stay curious.
Absolutely.
And that's it for this deep dive into Moonbeam. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.